Hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to another episode of All About Business Tycoons. In today's podcast, I have the honour of talking to Sir Billy Gessner, the CEO of the Great Crate Craft. For those of you who might need more by way of introduction to this man and his product, such as those who have been in a coma for the past few years, Sir Billy Gessner's Great Crate Craft is the winner of a host of prestigious awards: the IEA Innovation Award for Enterprise, the FGC Fastest Growing Company Award, the TLYMI Trade Like You Mean It Award, and a host of others. Enough awards to run the whole alphabet twice. Welcome to our podcast, Sir Gessner, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
I'm glad to be here.
So, did you wake up one day and say, Eureka, I need to make boxes? What I'm trying to ask is, did you ever know boxes could make you millions?
Of course. You're implying physical boxes. I make ideological ones, of course.
Interesting. So, what exactly is an ideological box?
Think of them as classification boxes. There are stratifications of every category that every single human being belongs to, nations, genders, age groups, religions, sexual orientations.
I'm flabbergasted that something as trivial as classification turns out to be such a lucrative business.
Well, box making is not as easy as it sounds. You've got to be flexible and know when to push an idea and when to back off. Race, for example, is a classification that you need to be careful about. Society's sensitivity to race changes, and so the box has to change to fit that change. You still have a box of race, of course, but you need to define it differently from one decade to the next, even from 1 year to the next.
So we need collective names, but we must be flexible and play it by the ear, right?
Yeah. No. Now, let me give you an example. British museums are bursting with artifacts from other countries. You're aware of that, aren't you? Now, imagine how simple and cost-effective it would be if, instead of labelling each artifact based on the region it was excavated from, we use one broad category for all of them. Keep it simple.
Right, but isn't that being ignorant and irresponsible? I'm not sure your idea would work.
Think again. Museums have been doing it for centuries. Have you ever heard of the Islamic arts? All the artifacts from many countries, even countries in different continents, are classified in one category: Islamic art. Simple, no? If this isn't decluttering explanations in a cultural way, what is?
Well, I must give you that. We have been using this very exact classification for years, and no one's questioned it.
Of course, we can only be successful if we get away with our method of boxing things. We respect boundaries. Whilst we have Islamic arts, we don't classify artifacts from the UK and France as Christian arts because it'll never work.
Why not?
Because we value and respect European boundaries and individuality. For every box, we consider many variables, and we do lots of detailed analysis to see when to stick our neck out, so to speak, and when to back off.
Sir Gessner, don't you think your boxification, as you called it, could be demeaning, if not dangerous, for people that don't fit into your predefined boxes? Wouldn't it make things difficult for people who don't fit in? Surely this standardisation won't work in everyone's favour.
Well, I can't be responsible for those who are left behind. Boxification is for the greater good. Trust me on this one. Actually, a talent for creative classification runs in our family. It's in our blood. My great-grandfather, Baron Conrad Gessner, was a successful scientist who classified animals and plants.
I was aware of that. In fact, I was hoping you would talk more about him.
Well, with pride. He classified animals so effectively that we are still using some of his classifications. Hisoria Animalium is his book. I don't know if you've heard of it. At the Great Crate Craft, we do the same. We only define people according to certain characteristics, habits, beliefs, appearances, and traits. In line with the skills that run in our family, we use categories to define things. We make hypothetical boxes.
So let's talk more about your grandfather.
My great-grandfather.
Of course. So, is there something you could tell us that is not common knowledge about him?
Sure. He was referred to in his days as the Lord of Creatures. He was a biologist, a botanist, but more importantly, maybe most importantly, an imaginist. He wrote 5 volumes of animal and plant classifications, and he was famous for inventing many imaginary creatures that appear in volume 5 of his Hisoria Animalium.
So let me get this right. Your great-grandfather actually invented imaginary creatures to fit into his classification.
That's right. Baron Conrad Gessner was an entrepreneur as well as a scientist. He saw the gap in the market and came up with a way to fill that gap. He made imaginary creatures to give people what they wanted and were eager to see. He was an imaginist of the highest class.
I think here on our podcast you're using a new word, imaginist. Have you just invented that?
Maybe I did. You cannot deny the Gessner family ability to pop things out of a bag. I've told you it's in our blood.
So one last word of advice for our future entrepreneurs who are listening.
Well, I'd say start your business with something that people want. Once they get through the door...
So what do you mean by...
Look, how many times have you signed contracts, agreements, whatever, only to be told later that there have been changes or updates to the policy, privacy law, or the contract that you've already agreed upon? People then have no choice but to agree to the changes that governs your relationship with them. If they don't agree, they can simply...
Right, thank you for that advice. We finish by Sergi's prediction, the future is boxes and more boxes. That should make someone a good motto. Sergi, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Join us next week for the next episode of All About Business Tycoons, where we will be talking to Sir Gazand, who is the CEO of the biggest arms manufacturer in Europe. You are listening to All About Business Tycoon. This program is sponsored by Simple Moral Compass.